Okay, you're going to get most of this from going through the chapter. I'm going to give you a lot more on chapter 18, it's nutrition and metabolism. I'm going to give you a lot more of this on the test deal. It seemed like it took us a while to go through, the digestive system. Of course, there's so much stuff, but years ago, we begin to have to label, in your lifetime, you know it because you have to label what's in something. The ingredients, you have to label how much fat, you have to, the Food, Drug and Health Administration made it law that we have to tell what's in everything. We have to tell how many calories in something. When I was growing up, that wasn't the case. I mean, you just didn't even know what was in something. Now you go and you look and it says, okay, this has this many calories, this much fat, or whatever, and all the different nutrients. So it's kind of interesting. It talks about reading the fine print there. You'll read that as you go. We have two different kinds of nutrients. We have macronutrients and micronutrients. Okay, so macronutrients, we talk about that here on page 695. That is needed in bulk. So macronutrients are carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. The macronutrients we need in bulk. We need a lot of carbohydrates. We need a lot of proteins. We need a lot of fats. Micronutrients are essential in small amounts, and that's vitamins and minerals. Okay, so we have then we have essential nutrients. Okay, so we talk about nutrients that human cells cannot synthesize and that must be obtained in the diet. Okay, so we have three different kinds of nutrients. We have macronutrients that we need in bulk: carbohydrates, proteins, lipids. We have then we have micronutrients that the body can break down. But then we have essential nutrients that the body can't produce, okay, and that we have to take in every day. And a good example of an essential element is water. Our body can't produce water, but we have to have that constantly. So when we talk about nutrients, we got macronutrients, micronutrients, and essential nutrients. So we talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about carbohydrates. I'm going to save a bunch of this. We've got a big biochemistry chapter where we talk about carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, fats. So I'm going to try to break some of these things down. When we talk about proteins, once again on page 700. Okay, let's talk about this. All right, this is pretty critical. Proteins are polymers of amino acids. Amino acids are building blocks of certain amino acids make up things that our cells have to have. Okay, there's essential elements of amino acids that we have to have for certain things. So let's go over here to page 701 first of all, and let's talk about amino acids in foods. Okay, so here's the different amino acids. All right, here's the different amino acids. Alanine. Okay, alanine is actually an amino acid that your heart has to have to be healthy, that your heart has to have, and it works in other areas too. Look at all these different amino acids. Let's go down to lysine. Okay, lysine. See, it's in the. See, we have glycine, histidine, and leucine. Lysine. All the amino acids do a particular function in your body. Lysine actually fights off disease, and lysine fights off viruses in your body. Wow. So we have to have lysine. So if you don't get L, which is an amino acid prefix, L-arginine, L-lysine, L-alanine, then you have something in your body that's needing that amino acid. So what do we mean by amino acids? So that's the names of them right there. Now, when you know what the amino acids do, okay, when you know what the amino acids do, then you realize you can actually take those amino acids even artificially into your body. Anytime it's an essential element, one that your body doesn't produce, it has to be broken down, an essential element, you can add those to your body. Like for example, vitamins, okay, you add them all to your body, like you eat carbohydrates and different things, but vitamins, when you take vitamins, you can take a large amount of a vitamin and whatever your body doesn't need, it'll get rid of. Now, can you take too many? Yeah, I'm sure there's a point where you can take too much. But amino acids are the same thing. So, for example, fever blisters, I'll give you some of my pharmacy background. I think maybe, I don't know if I ever told you, but a lot of my education was in a pharmacy area, so I can give you some different things there. So whenever you have a fever blister, that's a virus, and that fever blister will form a lot of times right around your mouth area on a certain part of the lip, and you get this fever blister that breaks up. Well, the problem is you try to bust it, or you rub it real hard with a wash rag. But what a fever blister is actually viruses, and they're super small. Remember, it takes hundreds of thousands of viruses to equal one bacteria. So these viruses then spread really fast. So then you get this really big deal where you're beginning to eat a hole, and you get a big knot, and then it begins to eat out because the viruses begin to break out and spread. Well, it's interesting because lysine, L-lysine, fights viruses. So one of the best things you can do for a fever blister, which is caused by a virus, is start out by taking a 500 milligram lysine supplement, okay? And you start out the first day taking about 5 of them. So you take about 2,500 milligrams, okay? Take 5 the first day, and then 4 the second day, and then 3 the next day, and then 2, and then 1. And your fever blister will go away, because we're going to put in our bloodstream a bunch of lysine, okay, that fights viruses. Wow, cool. So we got to have, the reason I mention that is I want you to realize that all the amino acids have a separate purpose and a separate function. So where do they come from? Well, here we go. So now, here's a big diagram, okay, for this. Let's go to page 700. Okay, so now, what do? Proteins. We break down proteins. Okay, now look, this is just proteins. This isn't even carbohydrates, okay? So what happens when we break down proteins? What's the first thing that breaks out of proteins? Amino acids. Which amino acids? The ones we just showed you break down there. Now what happens to these amino acids? Well, it's kind of interesting, because these amino acids are broken down into further proteins, or they go through this cycle of energy plus carbon dioxide plus water. That's a pretty big one, because that's called respiration. That's how we breathe and get energy, okay, and absorb with glucose and fat. So we're showing this whole system here. So what do we get from amino acids? We come down to the bottom, we get structural proteins, we get enzymes, we get hormones, and we get plasma proteins. Plasma proteins means that's what makes up cells. Okay, so what are amino acids? Well, they're the building blocks of proteins. So we eat the proteins. Proteins are meats, beans, that type of thing. Okay, things that are high in protein. What does it do? It breaks it down into the different amino acids that we need in our body. So wow, here we go. Here's your amino acids. Now, if you're a vegetarian and you don't eat any meat, do you need proteins? Yes. You need proteins for new cells. But if you're a vegetarian, you also know, hopefully, which amino acids you better be taking separately, because what are they? They're essential elements, things we have to take in that our body can't produce. Okay, so that's our quick lesson on proteins and amino acids. Now I want to go a little bit further. Okay, I want to go. Here we go. Page 706. Okay, vitamins. Okay, so now vitamins are also an essential element. Okay, what's the difference between a vitamin and an amino acid? Well, an amino acid is built into a protein. Okay, now the vitamins are organic compounds other than carbohydrates, lipids, or proteins. So a vitamin is not found in any carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. Where are amino acids found? They're found in proteins. So where do we get vitamins? Well, we get vitamins from fruits, we get vitamins from vegetables. There's different things, okay? But which vitamins are they? It says that vitamins are classified on the basis of whether they are soluble in fats or soluble in water. Fat-soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K. You mean to tell me that they dissolve and we have to have some fat? And the answer is yes. What are the fat-soluble vitamins? A, D, E, and K. That means if you put them in your mouth, vitamin A, it's not dissolved in your mouth, it's dissolved in the fat. In America, we put vitamin A in milk, okay? We put vitamin A in milk. Now, if we have skim milk, we put vitamin A in there, it's not dissolved like it is as if it's in whole milk that has regular fat. Isn't that interesting? Okay? Now, then we have water-soluble vitamins, and then it says it includes the B vitamins and vitamin C. All right, so what's the difference between the two vitamins? Fat-soluble and water-soluble. And you'll get a lot of that, and once again, we talk about water-soluble vitamins on page 709. We're going to talk about, you'll get all these thiamine, which is vitamin B, and niacin. We'll talk about, you'll get all those biotin and vitamin B6, vitamin B12, and what they do. You'll get all those through practice questions. Now I want to go over here, and as a matter of fact, the water-soluble vitamins are found on page 712, and you'll get those. Now let's talk about what's the difference between vitamins and minerals, okay? So page 713. Carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and vitamins are organic compounds. Now, dietary minerals are inorganic essential elements. Okay, now let's talk about that. Carbohydrates, lipids, proteins. You have to have those. And then we said vitamins. Vitamins are organic. What does organic mean? Organic means living, okay? They're from living things. But then we have to have minerals. Minerals are inorganic. Zinc, magnesium. These are things directly from the earth. These are non-living things that our body has to have. Now, isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing that our body has to have a certain amount of minerals to work? Once again, a masterful, incredible creation. So what if we don't have, okay, so what if we don't have some of these minerals? Well, that's what you'll learn about. We'll talk about trace elements, things that you have to have in your body. Iron, copper, iodine. A lot of the minerals that you have to have in your body and what they're needed for, okay? So, you know, it's kind of one of those things. For example, iron, we have to have for hemoglobin for our blood. Copper, once again, it's for bone development. Iodine is a synthesis of thyroid hormones. Our thyroid cannot produce growth hormones without iodine. So it's like, wow. So we go right on through there. Zinc, okay. Zinc we have to have for liver metabolism. Okay, we talk about liver. If your liver can regenerate itself. If what? If it has zinc. Now, there's a certain point when you get below 25% of the liver, it can't regenerate itself. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit later too. But now, minerals that we have, the trace elements that we have to have. Think about these other countries where they're not able to take any supplements and they don't have anything to develop. Then all of a sudden, whatever that mineral is they don't have, then there's a problem. Okay, so there we go. Quick overview of nutrients and metabolism. Metabolism, of course, is our body and how it functions. In this chapter, we'll look at dietary requirements, and what are they again? We'll look at carbohydrates, we'll look at lipids, proteins, we'll look at vitamins, we'll look at the essential elements, and remember, we'll also look at minerals that are inorganic. So that's kind of a brief overview of the chapter. Once again, you do not need to, we're not going to take a test this week, okay? And then next week, I'm going to take 17 and 18 and go over the exact test questions that you're going to have. But remember, all the material is important. 17 and 18, all the material is important. A lot of stuff on your practice questions. So instead of studying for a test this week, we're going to give you a little bit more time to do those. So that's our flyby. That's just a quick overview of chapter 17 and 18. And next week, we'll get into some more of the specific test questions for those chapters.